Today I'm going to be answering the question that I've been asked more than anything else on the channel, and that is, if I could only have one, would I keep the Bronco Raptor or the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 392?
But to answer this honestly, we need to take a step back to look at more than just the 392 and the Raptor behind me.
Jeep, the toughest four-letter word on wheels.
Bronco, first four-wheel drive sports car, blazing a new trail of excitement.
We all know the story of Jeep, originally created in 1941 to fill a void for the U.S. military, and then later introduced into the civilian market in 1945 with the CJ2A. Since then, they've been known for creating some of the most off-road capable factory-bought machines, and not much has changed since then, aside from the competition. In 1966, the Ford Bronco was introduced. Going after the same customer base that the Jeep was already catering to, the Bronco had a lot of success and was able to grow a considerable following. Some argue that the Bronco's life was short-lived, only being produced from 1966 until 1996, and there was a wide range of variations between those, but luckily in 2021 it was brought back to life. And with that, the rivalry between Jeep and Ford has come back stronger than ever. Fortunately, owning both manufacturers' most capable offerings has given me a really good insight as to how much has changed. Now, before I can give you an honest answer of what I prefer, we've got to set the groundwork. That way you know what makes each one so much different. There are certain characteristics that each one has that really sets it apart from the competition.
But before we dive too deep, I've got to introduce you guys to today's video sponsor, Viofo. Now, if you haven't heard of them before, they produce extremely high quality dash cams. With these, everyone's seen the situations where dash cams come in handy, but with their kit, they go a little bit further than anyone I've seen before. Now with this setup, you'll see you've got your standard dash cam right there, a rear camera, and then an interior camera as well, which is really cool. Now one of the best parts about this kit is the simple install process. We've got our main camera right here that you actually input your SD card into, and then we've got our two extra cameras right here. So this actually has GPS, it has Wi-Fi, and it can even see in the dark, which is the coolest part for me. So with this, you're able to download the footage extremely quickly, and aside from that, you don't have to go through and delete footage periodically if you don't want to. It'll actually delete footage out whenever it's not being saved. So here's how I have it all wired up. I've got the interior camera facing right here and all of the extra cord put into this little ACC box, so it's super clean underneath. And then I've got the actual dash cam mounted right there. You can see the interior camera right there, and you can see the exterior camera there. I like how it's showing you both at the same time. So I'm gonna pull out right here and see how it does. So this recording in such high quality, the 2K HD, is really cool because I'm not sacrificing the quality of my videos if I want to use this for actual footage, which is so crazy to me. It's absolutely awesome. If you guys do want to check out one of these for yourselves and throw one in your car, be sure to go down in the link in the description below and check them out. A huge thank you to them for sponsoring today's video.
On the Jeep Wrangler, we've got the old school solid axles. So solid axles front and rear. They've got great tuned suspension for technical trails like you're seeing play out right now. But whenever it comes to higher speed stuff like going through the desert, whoops, or just fire trails as fast as you can, those are some of the places you'll see shortcomings of the solid axle, aside from even being on the road. Now, whenever you're talking about the Bronco, they have independent suspension in the front for all their different trim levels. The independent suspension is much more forgiving, and to be honest, it just rides way better on road because most other vehicles you're used to driving are going to be independent suspension in the front. Where the solid axle really comes to play is these technical trails. I mean, the articulation you get from these solid axles and just the sense of control is crazy compared to the independent suspension. They both have a place and they both do better in certain scenarios. I would say overall the independent suspension really is better for a weekend warrior type vehicle, and the solid axles are really the only option if you're going to get a hardcore off-road machine for technical trails like you see now. So for the question of if I could only have one, which one would I pick? I want to lay out 3 different options. So let's start with base for base. So if I was able to get a base Jeep Wrangler or a base Bronco, which would I choose? For me, it's pretty simple. If I was getting a base vehicle from either manufacturer, it would be to build it to be an off-road machine. And it would be so much easier to do that with the Jeep Wrangler. The Jeep Wrangler has been around for so much longer, it has so much more aftermarket support, and to be fair, it's easier to build to be more capable, more cost effectively. I know that may not make sense, but even though the Bronco has a lot of aftermarket support, it is not anywhere close to what the Jeep Wrangler is. Aside from that, the platform itself, the Jeep Wrangler, is more condoning to building an off-road machine where it's already set up with solid axles. Independent suspension is great and all, but the independent suspension you're going to get and the components with the base Bronco are not going to be impressive at all. You'd have to work the entire suspension from the ground up, which is going to be super expensive for the independent suspension as compared to the Jeep Wranglers. Now moving up from there, if we were to compare the Bronco Wildtrak Sasquatch package to a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon XR package, with the 3.6 liter in the Jeep Rubicon versus the big V6 twin turbo EcoBoost in the Wildtrak, I would choose the Wildtrak. As surprising as that may be, I feel like whenever you're comparing those two to each other, the Wildtrak, especially with the Sasquatch package, is just a more capable all-around vehicle. Now, the independent suspension setup on the Wildtrak is really nice. I think that it works well for what it is, and both of them are going to have the front and rear lockers as well as sway bar disconnect. They're going to have 4-wheel high, 4-wheel low, and standard they will be in 2-wheel drive. So whether you're going through high-speed fire trails or you're doing some technical off-roading, technical crawling, I think the Wildtrak will really shine a little bit brighter. And not only that, the interior on the Broncos are really nice. Now for 2024, the Jeep Wranglers have definitely stepped their game up, but the Broncos are really cool, and they are a little different because they still have that new factor. We've seen so many different Jeep Wranglers throughout the past 20 years that it really just doesn't catch your eye as much as seeing a Bronco because they're still so new. Now taking it a step past that, if I was only able to have either a Bronco Raptor or a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 392, my answer may surprise you. I would actually pick the Bronco Raptor, but let me explain. The Bronco Raptor is a more capable all-around vehicle. From the factory, coming with the 37s, with the 3.0 liter twin turbocharged V6, 10-speed automatic, 4:10 gear ratio, it's a really impressive vehicle. Not to mention the insane suspension. This thing can really take a beating and continue going. I've been super impressed by that amazing suspension. Now, the Bronco Raptor still has a few shortcomings. In my honest opinion, it would have been much more of a desirable vehicle if it just had the 5.0 liter Coyote instead of that 3.0 liter twin turbo. Now, yes, it's easy to tune and fix up that 3.0 liter EcoBoost to make a considerable amount of power, but you just don't get that sound and that feeling and the low-end torque of that naturally aspirated V8. Now, to rework that question, if I was able to choose only one, but I had another vehicle to drive, I would hands down choose the Rubicon 392 every single time. There is no other vehicle I've ever driven or owned that has given me the feeling the Rubicon 392 does every time I get behind the wheel. The power, the sound, the feel is just so raw, it's a different experience from any other vehicle on the market. Now with that, it is a bit less forgiving than some of the other offerings, but that is what makes it so awesome. Every time you get in it, the trip, even if you're just going to a gas station, is not just a trip to the gas station anymore. It's so much more fun. Every time that anyone hears the Rubicon 392 or sees this one the way that it's set up, they are just blown away and they're really confused because the 6.4 has not been in the Wrangler until 2021, And to be fair, most people still don't know anything about it. But to have a vehicle like this, especially to have it set up the way you'd prefer to, I feel like you definitely need to have another vehicle to drive as your beater or your day-to-day use vehicle. The Bronco Raptor can really do both, and that's why it's so impressive. But whenever you do get the opportunity to take out either of these two vehicles and drive it just to enjoy it, there's not been a single scenario that the Bronco Raptor has allowed me to have more fun or honestly enjoy the trip more than the Rubicon 392. The Rubicon 392 is just an experience all in of itself, but sometimes whenever you're just doing day-to-day driving, you don't want the entire experience. Sometimes you just want to drive comfortably. So I hope laying all that out gives you guys a good in-depth look as to what my answer would be to the question that all of you have been asking. The Rubicon 392 is hands down the best if you have something else to drive most of the time. But if you can only get one, and that's going to be your only vehicle, I think the Bronco Raptor is the vehicle to get. Now, I know a lot of you are going to have your own thoughts and opinions on this, so please drop those down in the comments below. I want to know what you guys think. I want to know what you guys honestly would choose if you could only pick one, and I want to know what you would pick in both scenarios that I've laid out.
Well, I hope that helps some of you that are debating between getting a Bronco or a Jeep Wrangler, whether it be the base level all the way up to the Raptor and the Rubicon 392. To be fair, both of them are amazing machines, and I don't think you'll be disappointed with either. But if you're going to spend that much money, you deserve to know which one is the best for what you're going to be using it for. If you guys haven't already, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you want to see next. Be sure to go check out the video sponsor with the link in the description below. But until next time, Godspeed.